Welcome back to Flow with Yami, where my flow stands for faith, love, optimism, and wisdom. Today, I want to talk about something that requires lots of courage to live out, and it's finding the answer in love, not in control, not in perfection, not in becoming someone else to be accepted. Love is nothing like that. And to bring this to life, I want to use a real modern example, something we all witnessed over this weekend on the biggest stage in the world, the Super Bowl. And you know what I'm talking about? Bad Bunny. This episode isn't just a nice idea. It's a response to what so many people are feeling beneath the surface. Right now, uncertainty is one of the biggest emotional weights people are carrying. Nearly half of adults say their biggest source of stress is being uncertain about their future, especially when it comes to career, money, and clear direction. Not because they lack ambition, but because they care deeply about doing life the right way. And when uncertainty lasts too long, something kinds of shifts in your head. We go into survival mode. In survival mode is not a pretty place to live because there we rush decisions, we compare ourselves constantly, we start adjusting who we are to fit what feels supposedly safe. We believe we have to be different to move forward. But there's one thing that many of you do not realize is that fear doesn't just create anxiety. It actually reshapes your identity. And sometimes the reminder we need about who we are doesn't come from a sermon or a book, but it comes from witnessing a shared cultural eye-opening moment like the halftime Super Bowl this weekend. Bad Bunny stepped into the biggest global stage. And there, he did not abandon who he is. He didn't change his voice to be accepted. He didn't switch languages to feel safe. He sang in Spanish. He honored his Puerto Rican roots and honored the Americas, and he showed up fully as himself. And what happened? The world rejoiced. We celebrated, millions of people connected, and the response was pure love. That moment taught us something really important. You don't have to erase who you are to be embraced. You don't have to dilute your identity to move forward. Fear tells you change if you want to survive, but love tells us otherwise. It tells us to be you and to trust the universe. And that applies to your life, your faith, your career, and your calling. And this brings us to the heart of today's message. The difference between a life lived in fear versus one led by love. Scripture tells us something very clear. Perfect love casts out all fear. Fear tightens, but love expands. Fear rushes, but love grounds us. So many of the decisions people regret were always made out of fear. Fear of falling behind, fear of not being enough, fear of disappointing others, fear of losing security. Fear creates urgency, never clarity. Love, on the other hand, gives us direction. When God calls us to love Him, to love others, and to love ourselves, He's not calling us to weakness. He's calling us to freedom. And I didn't learn this lesson easily. I had to live it really through it. It was really hard, but here I am. There was a season in my life where everything looked fine on the outside. Plans, responsibilities, clear goals. But internally, I was extremely tense. I was praying, but also controlling like a maniac. Trusting God, but still looking for guarantees. And one day, I realized something that changed everything. I wasn't living from love. I was living from fear disguised as responsibility. God never asked me to stop planning. He asked me to stop abandoning my peace. And that is not a negotiable now for me. Peace is my thing. When I began making decisions from love for God, love for myself, love for my process, things didn't become perfect, but they did become peaceful. Oh, yes, indeed. Once I understood that, I needed a practical way to live this every day and not just understand it. So this is where I utilize my flow. I have faith and trust God even when the picture isn't clear. I choose compassion for myself over self-pressure. In optimism, I believe that God is still good and will always be good. And wisdom, I make decisions from calm and not panic. When you choose love, anxiety softens, clarity increases, and your identity solidifies. Love doesn't remove challenges. It removes the fear that makes you lose yourself in them. And before we close, I want to bring this back to you right where you are. Here is where I want you to remember. The answer is not fear. The answer is not becoming someone else. The answer is always love. Love rooted in God. Love that honors who you are. Love that allows you to move forward without betraying yourself. If this episode spoke to you, download the one-page worksheet and spend 5 minutes this week of quiet time reflecting on this. This is Flow with Yami, and your life doesn't move forward through pressure. It flows through love. So let's go out and flow.